Hey guys, Phobos here, and welcome to the second episode of Raise Your Elo. Today we are going to be talking about champion pool, preferred roles, and being the support. So starting off with champion pool. In preparation for ranked, I recommend that you practice every lane and role in the game. However, instead of playing every champion in the game, refine yourself down to 4 or 5 for each role. This way you can become more comfortable playing a few champions. To show why this is important, let's pretend you're in a ranked draft lobby, and the enemy just locked in Annie. You know what Annie's skills do, she will want to stun you into a nuke combo, so to counter this lane you decide upon Morgana to use her black shield. Great, you've counterpicked, but then how much of Morgana do you actually know? If you've never played this lane matchup before, but Annie has due to she only plays a select few mid champions including Annie, then she's at a huge advantage. Regardless of you countering her with one skill, you still will not have the key knowledge about this lane phase. Some of the things this Annie player will know, or have some knowledge of, over you will show up on your screen now. As you can see, there's a lot of information that you may not know. Instead, if the same situation was to happen, but you had refined your champion pool for mid to include Morgana and a few others, then this would be a better lane. You would know the same, if not more, information as Annie, and you will understand how best to play your lane phase. Now a question that might have popped up in your head is, if I only play 4 or 5 champions for mid, what about countering and picking champions for my team? To answer this, let's talk about which champions you should pick for each role and why. For your champion pool, consider the general categories of champions that you want. You should try to pick a champion which falls under each of these categories: roamer, assassin, farmer late game, pusher or split pusher, and a counter mid. If you learn one champion for each of these scenarios, you can cover a lot of team compositions and counter picks. I also recommend you try to put some of the strongest champions in there so that you give yourself an advantage. However, note that just picking a champion because it's currently OP doesn't mean you'll perform well with them unless you practice them. Refine your champion pool for each lane following a similar structure in your set. Take these champions into some normal games and play them each around 15 times or more so you're comfortable with them. The more practice the better. Also read guides for them and watch players playing them so you can get as much knowledge about them as possible. Now you might become that Annie player who has played Annie 100 times against the 4th time Morgana, putting yourself at an advantage. Next, preferred roles and being the support. Most players will have a role or two that they prefer. An example for duo queue, I personally would rather support or top to the other roles. However, you won't always get the role that you want if you're last pick, so be prepared to play all the roles. I can't stress that enough. Sometimes you will be asked to support, or more be forced to support due to being last pick, but it's not all doom and gloom. If you are a good support, you might be at an advantage straight away, as most players who play support in the Bronze Elo region are forced to. They probably never play support, get how it works, understand warding, trading and all that good stuff. If you are a good support player, you are at a huge advantage because their weakest player might be their support. As a general rule of thumb, I would recommend you don't support unless you have to if you're not above the 1500 Elo bracket, as your impact late game will not be very beneficial unless you are duo queue or you really understand how to play the support role. That's all for this episode. Feel free to discuss any of this content in the comments or ask any questions. I'll try my best to answer them all. Good luck and see you next time.